is Joanne Okitoy-Heisig, and I'm the Communications Officer of the Geneva Trade Platform. We're just wrapping up an exciting and remarkable 5th edition of the Geneva Trade Week 2024 here at the WTO Public Forum. If you look around, or if you take our background in mind, you're definitely going to spot that we're at the WTO Library. I have a special guest with me today, Professor Jennifer Hillman from Georgetown University, together with two other colleagues, Professor Henry Gao from the Singapore Management Institute and also Professor Joost Paulen from the Geneva Graduate Institute. They've just wrapped up a session where they were talking about the Trade Law E-Casebook, which is an accessible and free resource, and it's currently being used by students, professors, trade enthusiasts in 6 different continents at the moment. Yeah. So, Professor Hillman, what is the one thing that you want people to know about the Trade Law E-Casebook?
Well, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to have this session here as part of the Geneva Trade Week, as part of the WTO Public Forum, to showcase what we think is really something very different, a new kind of approach to teaching international trade law. And it's really different for a whole number of really important reasons. I mean, first of all, it's important because it is free. When we look at what textbooks are costing students, I happen to be the mother of a student in the United States who spent his entire summer earnings from this summer to buy the casebooks for 1 semester of school. So books have become out of reach for many, many students around the world. So what we wanted to do in this is make a book that was accessible to everyone. And the good news for us is we've been able to do that and to allow students to have access to it for absolutely no charge. And we're now also in the process of having it translated so that pretty soon it will be available not only in English, but in Chinese and in Spanish. And we're hoping, again, for editions coming soon in other languages as well. So that, to me, is a very cool thing. Second thing, though, that's really important to me is it was able to help students and professors think about learning trade law from a different perspective. For all of us old folks, we grew up learning about comparative advantage, how trade is this great good, and we now realize with all of the pushback to this general happy story is a lot of undercurrents about everyone that trade is leaving out or leaving behind, and how we need to teach trade law differently. We need to think about it differently. We need to study it differently. This book does an awful lot to bring in different perspectives, to bring in critiques, to bring in different ways of thinking about approaching the basic subjects of trade. The other thing it brings in a lot of the topics that were left out in the past. You know, past books didn't even talk about national security. That wasn't something that trade lawyers did. That was something those old defense people over there did. So this is now recognizing that everybody's trade law is to some degree being filtered through principles of national security, that the line that we used to have between economic security and national security has been erased. So it is a book that's trying to bring in these new topics: digital trade, e-commerce, the real relationship between trade and development, the real relationship between trade and labor, between trade and the environment. So it is both trying to make it more accessible and also more real and more up-to-date. So it's a very cool project that is really designed to help anyone, anywhere in the world be able to understand and know something about trade law.
Right. Thank you. That was a really excellent summary of what the Trade Law Casebook is all about. And I know that it's also a living document. So that means there are opportunities for people to contribute to growing the book. So what's one way that people can contribute to the Trade Law E-Casebook?
So one of the things I wish people would contribute is one of the things that's in the book is describing how when international trade law is made, treaties are conducted or negotiated, say at the multilateral level, how does that come into the law? So I wrote the section on how it comes into U.S. law. I mean, how does the United States take something like the WTO agreement and make it applicable in the United States? That process is completely different in other markets and other countries around the world. We would love it if there were students or scholars or teachers in Brazil, in India, in Kenya that could describe for other students, how does it work in your country? How does trade law become domestic law, become real law? How does it get applied to actual traders on the ground? in your own country. That would be a huge contribution to help everyone around the world understand this issue of when something happens at the international level, how does it come home?
Thank you so much, Professor Hillman. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And for some students or trade enthusiasts or professionals who are listening and watching right now, where can they access this trade law e-casebook?
So they simply need to go to the Beyond Trade Network platform that is part of the Geneva Trade Platform. But if they go to Beyond Trade Network and search for E-Casebook or International Law Casebook, they will find the link to it. And they simply need to click on that link and go through that quick setup process, establish a password, and from then on, they will have ready access to the book and all of its online content, to the videos, to the podcasts, to the hyperlinks, everything that's trying to make it easy and fast and quick for a student to learn anything they need to know about trade law.
I think Professor Hillman did a great job at putting in that plug for us as well. We'll be sure to include the links below this video. So we look forward to meeting more guests and engaging with you in our next videos. Thank you so much.
Thank you.